Hi, welcome back to Feminist Friday. It's been a hot minute since I made a video in general. It's been even longer since I did one of these. I thought it'd be a good and chill and fun idea if I was to just do like a fun little video where I got to go off on tangents, getting my feelings, because it's cancer season. So I read Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies, which is a collection of essays by like notable iconic women, what feminism means to them, and just being a boss ass bitch. It would be really hard to do like a review of a load of essays that do have like a loosely connected theme but are kind of all over the place. So I thought it'd be fun to just talk about some of the thoughts that I had about what feminism means to me while I was reading this book. Some of the recent developments in feminism that might have happened since this book came out. Just let's have a little catch up, see where we're at in the movement, guys. Now that the boys aren't watching. I'm gonna try and keep it light. There are a lot of heavy topics that are discussed in this book, but I don't want to like get into any of that today. I want to keep it kind of lighthearted and talk about some light feminism, diet feminism, if you will. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is the title, and let's see how long I can go on about this for. So obviously, Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies. The best way for me to explain this is to talk about my own personal story, my own personal relationship with the colour pink. When I was 4, okay, the gender roles were so set in stone, okay? If you were a girl, your favourite colour was pink, and that was the end of the conversation. If you were a little bit edgy, you could maybe get away with liking the colour purple. But other than that, like, if you were to say that your favourite colour was any other colour, you were like lying or a freak. And just the idea of being put into this box just really fucking bothered me. And so I used to just tell people like whatever random colour came into my head first, just to like kind of get a little bit of a reaction out of it, you know? From there, you kind of, as a girl, start to notice all of the boxes that people are trying to put you in. Like the fact that you're supposed to like look after your appearance and dye your hair and wear makeup and wear skirts and dresses and like frilly things and jewellery and whatnot. And you know, from that initial rebellion of like rejecting the colour pink as like something that I could like, or I'd be put into this box, I just started to like reject everything else that people said was for girls. As a result, I got to enjoy a lot of things that other girls my age didn't get to enjoy because I kind of like forced myself into the boys' activities, but at the same time I missed out on enjoying a lot of things that I do genuinely enjoy from an earlier age because I just rejected them out of hand because they were like girly things. And back in the day, like, to be girly was to be this fucking awful sinful thing that got like portrayed in the media as like the mean girl archetype, right? We all know how like hyperfemininity is being connected to like not being a very nice person in the media, okay, which is not necessarily true, but all these things, they come together to like kind of create a tomboy. And that was me. I was just kind of in rebellion against these girl stereotypes and the limitations that they brought to my character, because I knew that I was so much more than this like vapid girl that was always portrayed on the TV and in books and stuff. And every girl feels like that because those stereotypes, they're based on such a small minority of people that I do. Like, I'm not going to say that there aren't people like that out there, because some girls, yeah, they are vapid and they are hyper feminine, and that's like, you know what? That's chill. Let them do that. But every other girl in the world sees that like stereotypical portrayal of a woman, and they don't feel represented by that, okay? And so they reject everything about that stereotype in order to not get like lumped in with that kind of character. Let's talk about my first little quote from the book here. This is from Cat Women by Ivana Lynch. She says, "I'm not sure when I first began to define what a woman could be and could not be, but all of my teenage years are permeated with the memory of the belief that books were for me and beauty was for others. Somewhere along the way, I latched onto the idea that women of substance, politically conscious, world-changing women worth paying attention to, were above the frivolities of feminine indulgences. Reading Vogue and Elle, I learned that beauty was painfully exclusive, that cheekbones and skinny jeans and wealth were the assets you needed, and I began to see prettiness as a foreign world I had no place in. I grew to resent feminine women and decided that a woman simply could not be charming and clever at once. You had to pick one, and I knew which one garnered respect, if not desire. I'd dress in clashing prints, spangly bug earrings and bold tights because quirky girls had thoughts, were interesting, and those girls sashaying around town in crop tops with belly button piercings, blinking ostentatiously, most definitely had no thoughts to spur for anything outside the sphere of their own physical perfection. I'd stroll past my crush, nose buried in a book, wondering agonisingly when he'd notice my depth, substance, and most commendable abstention from low-cut tops and desperate bids to be an object of sexual fascination. And there was even that time I dressed as Harry Potter for the school graduation party as a silent, ironic protest against the fishnet stockings and streakily applied tans of my less censorious peers. I thought I was hilarious and mature, but when an attractive boy glanced at me across the room with my orange juice and smudgy lightning scar and shook his head in disgust, I knew what he meant. But I remained confused. I liked me. I knew I didn't have to be beautiful to be worthy, and it was much more valuable and interesting to have thoughts, dreams and plans to heal the world. It was better to spend time developing one's mind with Russian novels than with the latest reality star's diet and lifestyle coffee table book. I'd earned respect and admiration in my career by being well-read, socially conscious and understated, whereas gluing dainty bejewelled pieces of acrylic to my nails would set me back 2 hours of intellectual cultivation. And yet all the while the expression of unbridled femininity was something I could not get over. So I really like that section of the book because I feel like it's something that a lot of us can relate to. Made herself like conventionally unattractive because she felt like she had to make a choice between being attractive and being clever. Like, you have to be viewed as either one or the other as a woman. And I think that even nowadays this is something that we struggle with. I think that if you, as a woman, keep up a certain type of appearance, a lot of people think that you're like shallow and that you don't have like intellectual hobbies. Just this theme of like society trying to push girls into one box or the other. Mentions as well the fact that beauty magazines, they make it such an exclusive thing. There's such a narrow standard of beauty that it's so hard to fit into it in even the smallest way. So you just assume that it's not for you, and you, feeling completely rejected by society, reject anything to do with that expression of femininity, I guess. Hello. Oh. Should probably pause. South Park. I wanted to cut in because I was editing this and I was like, oh geez, like completely forgot to tell you a couple of things. So like here, for example, I forgot to mention how the way that, you know, you split into either one box or the other as a girl, it's a way that the fucking patriarchy and the man divides women and kind of like uses this as a thing to pit them against each other. Oh my god, you're gonna think I'm such a scruff, but like, this is just the way I am. I'm just chilling, bro. I'm just editing. I don't have to conform to your fucking societal norms of fucking what is acceptable deterioration of a jacket before you throw it out, okay? It's this like division between girls, like it's all fucking manufactured by the man, okay? It's all just another thing for us to fight over so that we don't fucking unite and turn against them, okay? And here I forgot to tell you the fucking happy end to the story, which is like the whole point of me making this video, which is that a couple of years ago in like my early 20s I started to rediscover my femininity and to really connect with that side of myself and to even accept the fact that I might like the colour pink. And now the colour pink is a massive part of my wardrobe. I absolutely love it. So don't be afraid to just like the things that you like, essentially, is what I'm trying to say here. And just like, don't be afraid to explore things because you think it's gonna put you into a certain box, because we all know that we're fucking diverse creatures and we love that for us. Vaguely related tangent, I didn't wear makeup until I was 17, and that was when I started to wear eyeliner. Even now, on like a daily basis, I don't wear a lot of makeup, I just wear my eyeliner. And even when I go to town, like I still have no idea how to apply any kind of makeup. As much as I like to match my eyeshadow to my dress, and I really love to wear red lipstick. Like, red lipstick is one of my favourite things in the world. I really just have no idea how to do makeup, and doing makeup doesn't bring me the same kind of joy that it brings other girls. I didn't used to wear it at all, not for myself, but because I had this weird like idea in my head that girls only wore makeup for men. And I think that especially now with Gen Z being like young adults and stuff, we can really see the evidence that that has never been true, okay? Because I don't know whether any of yous are onto like the uglification of the modern woman and stuff like that, and how they're just rejecting the male gaze entirely. And we'll get more into the male gaze later, don't worry. Basically, girls now are using makeup as like a form of self-expression, like the way that we use our clothes to do that and our accessories. There's not like a uniform way to do your makeup anymore. Like there's loads of different styles and ways that you can make up to portray a certain type of look and style. And I think that's great. Another thing that I thought about while reading this book was the internalized male gaze, which is like basically just the idea that as women, we're always like performing for this invisible audience of men, okay? And that's why we do things like wear sexy lingerie to bed even when there's nobody around. Like that's one side of it, but then there's also the side of it where it's like we prepare for a night out by putting like small weapons into our bags in case we get attacked. No matter what we are doing as women, there's like always in the back of our mind this voice asking us, yeah, but where are the men going to be at though? What are the men going to be doing? Are the men going to be violent tonight? It's an entire genre of horror films that is just what if it was dark and there was a man outside, which is like, I find that absolutely insane that that's like a whole just accepted part of our society and nobody has thought that that's like odd and strange that there's just this whole subgenre of a type of film that's about women's abject fear of men they just don't know, of just strange men being in their vicinity. This is so fucking creaky, bro. I can't be dealing with it. Something that a lot of the women in this book talked about, okay, was, is it embarrassing to be a feminist now? And I mean, it kind of became really embarrassing to be a feminist for a few years there, I'm not gonna lie. There have obviously always been a lot of negative stereotypes attached to being a feminist, like you're a man hater or like you're too ugly to get a man, so that's why you have to be a feminist. I think that in the 2010s, a lot of female anger about a lot of issues came to a head. There was a big uprising in feminism, and that was when all of the SJW stuff came about. And I think that a lot of this was like overcorrection, okay? It was a little bit too far in the other direction. It was really not what feminism is about, okay? I think we can all admit that now, that maybe everything just went a little bit to the extreme. So when everything has calmed down from that, now I think everybody is kind of embarrassed to admit that they're a feminist and to admit that feminism is still something that is needed in the world, that sexism still fucking exists. Just because we maybe went about feminism in the wrong way doesn't mean that it wasn't a good idea in the first place. Do you know what I mean? And I think we've all just lapsed into this kind of state of like, we're all just really passive right now, bro. And no, actually, I have noticed recently that there's been a little bit of a shift in the feminist sphere, and I don't exactly know what it is right now, but there's stuff going on. But like before that, we were all looking a little bit passive, bro. And I think that was because like it was embarrassing to be a feminist for a minute there. And you know, a lot of the women in this book ask if maybe there is some other word we can use. It's like, mate, fuck words. Like, what does the word mean? Like, who cares about what other people think about the word feminist if what you mean by it is that you want everybody to be equal, you want to treat everybody like they're a boss bitch. And I say fuck words, but I'm even then gonna over explain the word, and it's like, all it means, if you look at the fucking dictionary definition, it means that we want to advance women's rights in order to gain equality of the sexes, okay? And then comes the argument of like, oh well, feminism isn't about men's rights then, and it's like, okay, so maybe the definition doesn't necessarily include this part of my argument, but you can't tell me that feminism isn't focused on men's rights. Feminism has always included men's rights. The patriarchy affects everyone. It negatively affects men in so many ways. That's why the male suicide rate is so high. That's why male and female relations are so shitty. That's why the dating scene at the minute is a pile of trash. Everybody suffers under the patriarchy, and all that feminism has ever tried to do is to make men realise that. And, you know, men just want to argue and say that we're not doing anything for men. Even, like, basic shit, like trying to get men equal access to their kids after divorce and stuff like that. It's always been a feminist issue for at least as long as I've been a feminist, okay, bro? Slight tangents. Let's go to page 125. Okay, listen to this, bro. Listen to this. It starts by never taking for granted how poisonous society can be to the male psyche. This is Tell Him by Jamila Jamil, by the way. Protecting boys from the onslaught of misinformation everywhere. They are bombarded with dangerous imagery, song lyrics, peer pressure, and often quite damaging, violent, entirely intimacy-free pornography, all of which is sold to them as glamorous and realistic norm. Men are throttled with toxic masculinity and given made-up ideals that they are forced to subscribe to. They're belittled and rejected when they show signs of sensitivity. They're mocked and insulted when they show their pain or care too much. Songs that are kind to women or that talk about feelings are considered wet or labelled sad boy music. It's such a potent, rotten marinade that boys grow up being soaked in. And I think that's really powerful. I think it really speaks to the importance of what we teach our male children and the things that we fucking say to boys. I want all of you to go out. Anybody who's watching this right now, go out and educate a man this week. I don't care what it's about. I don't care if you have to do it in the most jokey, self-deprecating manner. Educate that man. But the thing that I wanted to pick up on specifically from that, although you listen to it again and ruminate on it, if you will, is the sad boy music. I was thinking about the term, like, sad boy. I was thinking about how recently, especially with, like, TikTok and stuff, there's a lot of things that you can say about TikTok and it being toxic and shit. But one thing that I will say in its favour, I've really noticed on TikTok that there's this appreciation for, like, different types of men. Like, there's a lot more visibility for, like, how women like actually feel about men and how women's attraction to men works, and as a result, like, different types of boys are getting appreciation now as opposed to just the one societal like norm for the standard of beauty or whatever. As much as the guys who have six-packs and big muscular arms and whatnot are still getting a lot of attention on TikTok, there's been a big like surge recently. It was kind of recently with the whole female gaze thing where it was like the nerdy twitchy boys were getting a lot of attention. Different male aesthetics being appreciated in the public eye, I appreciate, as much as the fact that the female gaze term was being used to describe this, which really pissed me off because, like, it kind of misunderstands the whole point of the male gaze, and I don't really know what they were trying to say the female gaze was in those TikToks, but that's not really the point of today's video. This is to say that, yeah, maybe being a feminist is cringe, okay? Maybe it fucking is. Maybe I'm embarrassed to say that I'm a feminist sometimes. Maybe when I sit down and I'm talking to some little fucking 23-year-old guy who thinks he's all that and who thinks it's funny to say that he's sexist and like say the fucking say the M-word down the mic of his fucking Xbox Live account or whatever. Maybe I'm a little bit embarrassed to say, yeah, I'm a feminist, but I fucking do it, you know. And do you know why I do that? Because I have witnessed, okay, the death of cringe culture, okay? Furries are in the streets, okay? One lives around the corner from me. They be dressing like a fox and running around the fucking street on all fours, okay? These kids don't give a shit. Why should I give a shit about standing up for fucking human rights, bro, okay? It is time for feminism to fucking come back strong with a fucking measured response that is not the anger of the 2010s SJW movement. And this brings me, okay, to my final point. Oh god, I think I've turned into a dictator. Wait there a minute. The main thing with this book, okay, and all feminist media for me at least, okay, it doesn't matter what your opinion is, it doesn't matter what type of feminist you are, it's the feeling that you get when you are surrounded by other women, this feeling of community, this feeling of belonging, this feeling that you're all moving toward this greater purpose, okay, that you all have a common goal in mind, that your sister, okay, fucking sees you as a person in a way that, as a woman, you just don't kind of feel like society does sometimes. The most important thing that you can do as a feminist, okay, even if you don't want to go out there and be involved in all the activism and the fucking protests and the whatever, even if you don't want to go out there and recruit a man this week, okay, if that's fucking too much for you, bro, do you know what you can do? The most important thing you can do as a feminist, you can fucking turn up for a woman. You can turn up for all women. Even if they're in the wrong, okay? Even if a woman's a fucking piece of shit, you can point that woman in the right direction. You can, like, not embarrass her in front of the world. You can try and educate her. You can try to make her a better person. You can try and make her the best version of herself, bro. And that's being a good feminist. I don't think that feminism will ever be taken seriously if women aren't united. It comes fucking back to the stereotypes that I was talking about at the beginning. Like, women, oh, we're so catty, we're so bitchy. We can't, like, even the girls who say that the best friends turn around and, like, bitch about each other behind each other's backs. We all know the boys are just as bad. Okay, we all know that. But let's just ignore that fact for a hot minute and think about this fucking stereotype and the fact that when boys see that the fucking feminist movement is so divided, that some of us are so embarrassed to even say that we are feminists, okay? They're never gonna stand up and support us in the way that we need them to if we're ever gonna get anywhere against the fucking patriarchy, bro. At the end of the day, like, men aren't going to show up for us if we're like that. And maybe even more importantly, men aren't going to let us show up for them. Like, if they think that we're a bunch of fucking bitches who can't, like, be nice to each other, like, they've got this whole bro code thing. They think their friendships are the best. They think their friendships are better than any relationship they can have with a woman, right? It's like, oh, bros before hoes and all that. Even though then they get into a relationship and, like, put all of their emotional trauma onto the girl because they feel like they can't open up emotionally to the guys because, like, they'll get called fucking gay or whatever. And think that we're a bunch of bitches who can't even be friends with each other, so why would they want us to show up for them at their fucking men's rights rallies or whatever, to stand up for their rights when we can't even fucking get together and stand up for our own? You know what I mean? This is a fucking call to arms, bro. Call for us to fucking show up and present a clear, united front to the men and to the fucking world, bro, okay? Womanhood.